simply sir and madam, but not respected sir and respected madam. But in many letters we come across that respected sir and respected madam. So, try to avoid after this class, try to avoid that respected sir and respected madam. Use just sir, madam or dear sir, dear madam. Just let us try to avoid respected. And when we are writing a letter to limited companies, that is, there are many companies which are limited, private companies, private limited, Ramanaidu Film Private Limited, and Indian Drugs and Pharmaceuticals Limited. Like this, when we write a letter to a company which is limited, what does it mean? It means that there are some people who own that company, and therefore, there is not only one person, and therefore, the greeting or salutation must be dear gentlemen, but not dear sirs please, not dear madams, just dear gentlemen. So, whenever you are writing a letter to a company which is limited company, we have to use dear gentlemen, and immediately after that greeting or salutation, do not forget to put a comma, because you will have to immediately write the body of the letter, that is going to be the third part of the letter, and therefore, you place a comma at the end of this greeting or salutation, and afterwards you start this body of the letter. After the greeting or salutation, you use a comma, and immediately below that you will have to start this body of the letter. This body of the letter will start in a new line after your salutation, and therefore, your salutation must end with a comma. Body of the letter plays an important role, because here you have to write what you want to write, and therefore, be careful about your diction, grammar, punctuation, and the division of your body of the letter into paragraphs. And the fourth part is the subscription or leave taking phrase or the complimentary note. Subscription, leave taking phrase or the complimentary note. Please note this spelling of complimentary, C-O-M-P-L-E, but not P-L-I. That is different from this. Complementary, that is, complementary means that fills the gap, C-O-M-P-L-E, M-E-N-T-A-R-Y, complementary. But is C-O-M-P-L-I, M-E-N-T is complement. Your handwriting is beautiful, that is, you have got a beautiful hand, that is a compliment. This is complementary. For example, that is leave taking phrase or the way in which you close the letter, subscription or the complimentary note. Yours lovingly for personal letters. Be careful about the usage of these adverbs. Yours lovingly, yours cordially. If you start your letter with Mr., or if you start your letter with dear Sudhakar, Mr. Sudhakar, and this leave taking phrase must suit your greeting or salutation, yours lovingly or yours cordially. In official letters, we use yours faithfully and yours sincerely, yours faithfully and yours sincerely. And I sincerely request you not to use obediently, because we are not using obediently nowadays, because we are free citizens now. We are living in a democratic country, and therefore, we do not use generally yours obediently. So, avoid that obediently. In place of obediently, you use yours faithfully. So, drop that obediently or yours sincerely. Whenever you are writing to an officer who is superior to you, you will have to use yours faithfully, because he is your superior. I am working as a lecturer, and whenever I write a letter to our principal, I use yours faithfully, because he is a superior officer, and therefore, I use faithfully. But when I have to write to a person who is equal in rank, I use yours sincerely, but not faithfully. So, remember to whom you are writing a letter, and be careful in using these two adverbs, faithfully and sincerely. And yours truly is used in a letter to the editor, because whatever you write to the editor of a newspaper will be read by hundreds and thousands of people, and therefore, whatever you write to an editor of a newspaper, you will have to write the fact, you will have to present the truth, and therefore, you will have to use this yours truly. And a note is there. There is no apostrophe. There is no apostrophe between or and yes in yours. There is no apostrophe between or and yes in yours. Yours faithfully, yours sincerely, yours lovingly, yours cordially, whatever you write. But please, my personal and my sincere request to all the people who write letters is this: don't use an apostrophe in this yours. That is, without apostrophe, this yours must be written. So, I hope from today onwards you do not use an apostrophe in this yours, yours faithfully, yours sincerely, yours lovingly, yours cordially. You can end your personal letter with other innovative methods of leave taking phrase, with love, with affection. Like that you can end, because it is a personal letter. When you are writing a personal letter, you have got the freedom. But when you are writing a business letter, when you are writing an official letter, when you are writing a letter to the editor of a newspaper, be careful about these things. And the last part of a letter is superscription. First, you have written the heading, next greeting or salutation, next body of the letter, and next leave taking phrase or subscription or the complimentary note. And after writing all this, last comes the superscription or address on the envelope. Superscription or address on the envelope. And as a student, you will have to write a letter in the examination, and when you are writing a letter in the examination, you do not have an envelope, and therefore, this fifth part of a letter has got a separate place to be written, and therefore, after writing all these things, you will have to write this address on the envelope to the left side of the paper at the bottom of it. So, this is the format. This is the format of an official letter. In an official letter, we write from, that is our address, and to. the person who is going to receive that heading, and below this heading we write greeting or salutation, and immediately after the salutation we write the body of the letter, and after that body of the letter you write the subscription or leave taking phrase or complimentary note. See the places. The first part of the letter has occupied the right hand top corner of the page, and the next one just below the heading to the left side of the paper, and body of the letter occupies the central part of the page, and next comes the subscription. That is, it must be same, that is, where you have written the heading must be in relation to this subscription or leave taking phrase or complimentary note, and after these four parts are over you write this address on the envelope, superscription or address on the envelope, and then the place is here. Heading. Heading should be written at the top right hand corner of the page, because this heading consists of your place and the date, and therefore, this must be written at the top right hand corner of the page. Greeting or salutation. Left hand side, this should be written on the left hand side of the paper, little below the receiver's address, because we are talking about official letters, and therefore, we write from and to or from and to, and immediately after the receiver's address, left hand side little below the receiver's address, we will have to write this greeting or salutation. As we are writing official letters, we write either sir or madam, or dear sir or dear madam, and then body of the letter. In this body of the letter, you will have to give the details, in the sense the subject. What is that subject? The subject is what are you going to write about? What are you going to write about? That is, this letter is a request to the officer who issues the ration card. You are writing a letter to the officer who has to issue a ration card, and therefore, here you have to write the subject. The subject must be written, because the receiver will immediately see the subject and he can easily understand what is going to be the body of the letter. Without going through the entire body of the letter, by reading just the subject, he can understand what it is going to be about. And then reference. If it has got any reference, you will have to write the reference just below the greeting. So, remember, when you are writing an official letter, that official letter must have two things necessarily, the body of the letter, that is subject, reference, just below the greeting, because the officers will not have time to go through the entire letter, and therefore, you will have to make yourself very clear in the subject itself. Body of the letter can be divided into paragraphs. The body of the letter can be divided into paragraphs depending on the matter. Therefore, you will have to plan a letter. First of all, before you start writing a letter, you will have to plan how is it going to be, what am I going to write, and in your mind you must have a clear idea about the paragraphs also. Leave taking phrase, the fourth part, or the subscription or the complimentary note should be written below the body of the letter. This is the fourth part. it should be written just below the body of the letter, that is yours faithfully or yours sincerely. And then signature. After writing yours faithfully, yours cordially, yours sincerely, yours lovingly, whatever it is, we sign, and the signature must